Ken Roberts Market Watch. That'll take you to my columns on retirement plan.
And are we getting close to another column there?
Yeah, I'll have one out pretty soon. This shoulder injury slowed me down a little bit.
Oh, I can imagine.
I can bet that one.
And what'll be the topic of the next one?
I think I'm going to write one on using health savings accounts for an additional tax-deferred savings tool.
Oh, HSAs, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty handy. You can use the funds. If you don't need them for medical expenses, you can use them for retirement down the road. So,
okay.
But people should be aware of how it works when they're doing their long-term planning.
Well, yeah, it doesn't hurt because medical expenses are going to be, you know, when you get to be up in age, that tends to be the most expensive thing you're going to do.
Yeah, a lot of people tend to underestimate that when they do their retirement planning too.
All right, Ken.
Mistake.
And how do we contact you if we'd like you to make sure our dollars are working as hard for us as we did to make them?
You can give me a call at 775-825-4555.
All right, Ken, good to hear from you. Hope to hear back in the next hour with our final report.
Thanks.
That's Ken Roberts, Fat Tail Trading. Give him a call. Have him take a look at your investment portfolio. It's never too early. If you're 25, 35, or 55, have him check it out. I mean, the more you save now, the better it'll look later on.
Yeah, don't be going, oh, I can do this later and I'll save more.
Yeah.
Because if it's hard now, it's going to be very difficult later.
And if you think you can't afford 3% or 4% or 5% now, you're never going to afford it later on.
Nope.
That's just tough. Well, let's go from Wall Street all the way to a place where they don't have a Wall Street, a third world country, the town where the pavement ends and the dirt begins. The city slogan is Silver Springs. They're proud of their longest continuous burning tire fire anywhere in the continental United States. We have Aaron on line one. Hey, Aaron, what's up?
Hey, you know, I just got a text from a friend of mine down there on 4th Street, and apparently there's a bunch of gals down there with big signs saying "Happy Birthday, Jimbo," and they were wondering if it's the Jimbo I talked with on the radio in the morning.
Oh, that'd be
maybe you got some fans down there, Jim.
Oh, sure, that's me.
That'd be our Jim.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, man.
Is it ebony and sparkle and sprinkle and cinnamon?
And don't forget Dawn.
They did have fruity names, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Dawn's
down there too, yeah.
Anybody familiar with dicamba or 2,4-D?
2,4-D?
2,4-D, that sounds familiar.
That should have been A.
Yeah, I thought it would there, Dennis. That's the key ingredient in Agent Orange.
Yeah, there you go.
Last week, the USDA deregulated Syngenta's MZIR098 corn, and this is both resistant to insects and a chemical called glufosinate ammonium. They're calling this, of course, a Frankencorn. Again, deregulated, absolutely no testing for adverse effects on the environment, people, animals, plants, anything else. And this is why the USDA deregulated this corn, because it is significantly similar to Monsanto's MON 87419 strain, which was the strain of corn put in our food supply when Michael Taylor wrote the paper substantially equivalent and gave us that term. It is substantially equivalent. Well, that was a lie, so this is a lie. It's just that simple.
Wow.
The corn wasn't substantially equivalent, so if this corn is significantly similar to the other poison that's in our food supply, now we have two types of corn, ladies and gentlemen. Again, whom do your elected officials represent?
Yeah.
The EPA, just a couple months ago, this stuff was involved in a what they called I'm trying to remember it, Enlist Duo, I believe, was the name of a product that was put together, and there was absolutely no testing. The EPA was sued by several different organizations. One of the attorneys, Paul Akintoff, and he is with Earth Justice. He was the attorney for them. With this action, the EPA confirms the toxic nature of this legal cocktail of chemicals and has stepped back from the brink. Glyphosate, a probable carcinogen, and is wiping out the monarch butterfly, 2,4-D also causes serious human health effects, and the combination also threatens endangered wildlife. This must not and will not be how we grow our food. Another attorney involved in this, George Kimbrell, the decision by the EPA to withdraw, and this is a key word in his statement, the illegally approved Enlist Duo crops is a huge victory for the environment and the future of our food. Again, we have agencies that were designed years ago, many years ago. The Environmental Protection Agency, the United States Department of Agriculture, these were two parts of our government that were agencies that were designed to protect the environment and the food supply, and they're run amok with people working, former employees, lackeys, whatever you want to call them, whatever kind of label you want to put on these individuals that have gone from Monsanto to the United States Department of Agriculture and get appointed to high-profile positions within our government agencies. They're not protecting our food. I don't know. I don't even know what to think. How can our government allow 2,4-D back into our food supply after what happened in Vietnam?
No,
That is an outrage, and I think everybody in this country should be screaming and beating the door down.
no, I don't understand what the problem is. Obviously, R4D was tested on millions of GIs, and there's been no detrimental effects to any of them, right?
Except you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how many millions of Vietnamese and Cambodian people were affected over that. We may never know the true extent of that collateral effect, if you will, or damage, as the military uses that phrase, collateral damage. We may never really truly know the extent of that, but there are reports that come out of Vietnam and Cambodia talking, and they've directly linked the birth defects, the miscarriages, and everything else that goes on, or all these other issues over there to the homeland people in Vietnam and Cambodia and in that area. That they directly link their problems, their medical issues, to the Agent Orange that was sprayed over there.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how this is what I don't get. I don't understand how any human being with any type of a conscience could approve something like that, knowing what has happened, knowing the history of that product in the past. I just don't, that doesn't make any sense to me at all, how that person can go look themselves in the mirror. I don't know. I just don't know. That's not a human being. That's a piece of garbage.
That's
Well,
true.
people don't understand either that, they would say, well, it was sprayed on the plant. It was a defoliant, so if you were living somewhere else, it didn't affect you. But, it rained every day in Vietnam, and in the rainy season.
Yeah, so it got washed off,
well,
and then you got a bath with it.
Well, it would wash off. It would go into the ground. It would run off into the creeks and streams, run off into the river. I mean, we literally dumped millions of pounds of that stuff. I mean, from 123s, C-119s. I mean, they were spraying continuously. And the only bird that actually flew over there that nobody shot at was the C-47s that sprayed for the mosquitoes, because it kept the mosquitoes off the VC and the NBA. So, they kind of appreciated the fact that it was doing that. But the Agent Orange, that's got to affect people all the way through Laos, Cambodia, even parts of Thailand, Vietnam, of course, north and south, and all the way down to the waterways. And it would wash, eventually making its way all the way down to the Delta and all the way down to the ocean. So we have no idea what we've caused there, and it's sad that our own government didn't recognize there was an issue until about 25 years ago, and now they're saying, oh, my God.
And refused to admit it for quite a while.
No, that's
what I thought was atrocious.
Well, what about cigarettes causing cancer?
Again, you know what? Monsanto they have taken a page right out of Big Tobacco when they come out, and they never say somebody's stuff is wrong. They attack the credibility of the person making the statement by saying, oh, well, you're not qualified, you're not this. But yet we have an astrophysicist out there, supposedly one of the smartest people on the planet, is named Mr. Tyson, telling us that we have been genetically modifying our food. Every time we cross-pollinate something, that is the biggest horse of crap I've ever heard in my life.
Well, you know, the guy thinks
I will side with the geneticist when it comes to talking about genetic modification over an astrophysicist any day.
You know, it's just about what the mind will believe. They say if they have somebody who's an astrophysicist, then, you know, that's his trademark and he's telling the truth. But he's telling the truth as he sees it, not as a genealogist or, you know, the chemicals.
Well, and again, basic biology will tell you that if you take some... When I was in high school, this genetic modification thing, they were still trying to figure out the DNA structure and all that kind of stuff. But that was science fiction stuff is what it was back when I was in high school. Cross-pollinating two things was a natural process because that can actually happen in life. The wind will blow the flowers together, a bee will go from one plant to another. That happens. What doesn't happen is when somebody takes DNA out of a flounder and puts it into a tomato. That is not a natural process, and I'm sorry, that is genetically modifying something. Cross-pollinating two roses to get a long stem rose is not genetically modifying or genetically engineering something. Yeah, you know, maybe to a degree, but not. You're using a natural process there. You're not taking a substance from one living organism and inserting it into another living organism. That's what genetic engineering and modification is. It's not rubbing two flowers together.
I don't think cross-pollinating or crossbreeding a flounder with a tomato would work. But if you used it if you did a tomato and a tuna, then you got something.
Yeah.
That's
tomato and a tuna.
Yeah.
They're called cold-set tomatoes is what they're called. If you've ever heard the phrase cold-set tomatoes, what they did, flounders live in 40-degree, 35-degree water. They took the gene that allows the fish to live in that cold water, they inserted it into tomatoes, give us what they call a cold-set tomato. Now the tomato, because the tomato plant will freeze at about 38, 39 degrees. This flounder allows the plants to be started the end of March, April, last through the end of September, so your farmer literally gets an extra harvest off his plants every year. Is it a bad thing? We eat the fish, we eat the tomato, we probably eat them in the same dish. When you get to taking poisons and putting it in the food, that's a different element. That's not. It's the same. There's a disease with the orange trees, and they found something in spinach that makes it that is immune to the same disease. So they're trying to put that. I can see where they're using vegetation in vegetation. Maybe the animal a little bit into a vegetable. But when you put a poison in the food, and make no mistake, these genetically modified, and maybe this is why there's such a bad name for the genetically modified organisms in the food, because they are putting poison in the food. Right. They're not making the food better tasting, better for you, healthier for you. They're putting a poison in the food so they can save money on whatever, labor, something down the line. And I'm sorry, there is just no valid reason on this planet to put poison in the food.
No, there's not.
There just isn't a
And we
valid.
got to get wrapping up here, so if we can figure out how to get a hold of you, please.
Not a problem. 775-230-9915. We got a lot of scattered clouds. Still a little snow on the ground out here from yesterday. Nice and brisk this morning, but it's going to be a great day, folks. Let's have a good time. Let's all be safe out there.
Right on. Thank you.
No, that's Aaron from Silver Springs.
Good point today. Good
I'll
point.
say at that was very informative, actually. I didn't know you can mix a flounder and a tomato.
I didn't either.
I did not. But let's take a quick commercial break, but stay tuned. We will be right back.
See you.
The business landscape